Welcome to Beach Jam Media, your resource-driven oasis with your host, Jennifer Corbin-Carson. Join us each week as we dive into hot topics and essential materials for individuals and businesses. We invite you to get your feet wet and explore life's offerings. From insightful discussions to practical advice, we're here to navigate the tides of change together. Come join us for Beach Jam Media, where knowledge flows endlessly and where the currents of insight never stop. So come on, let's get our feet wet and explore what's waiting for us on the beach.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Beach Jam Media podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Corbin-Carson, and let's just jump right in and get our feet wet. Good morning, Chanel. I'll adjust a little bit. There we go. Much better. Hi.
How are you? It's cloudy
Good. How
here.
are you?
It's cloudy here in San Francisco today because it went from full spring feel to late fall for some reason.
Well, it gives you a break. That's good.
I love it. I love it. How are you this morning?
I'm, running around like everybody else, running around with the chicken, like a chicken with my head cut off. And I don't even have the right coffee cup. Oh, wrong one, wrong side. So, okay. So this is a mantra, right? Do what you love what you do. So
I love it. That's the right coffee mug because that's the one you're using and that's the one that says how you're feeling. So I absolutely love that. It goes along with what we're talking about today, which is really welcoming the unexpected into life. I love it.
Right. And that was my morning, right? So nothing could be so full disclosure, right, to our viewers. We didn't get a chance to talk last week or this week about what we were going to talk about. So you'll have to bear with us. And, but that's what this podcast is all about, right? What washes up. So let's see what washes out of my mouth today. But, it's so expecting the unexpected. So I will tell you how my morning went. Got up, made some coffee, talked to Kelly, my sister, and then got ready finally because I was up early enough, but I haven't been sleeping well, for the past week because I've had some rush orders and things like that. But that's okay. So I've been giving myself a little grace, to get the proper rest that I need to actually function during the day. So I have fibromyalgia, for the people that don't know. I have fibromyalgia and some other autoimmune disorders. So that really plays into the energy of my normal day and how it's gonna pan out. So I've been given, like I just said, I've been giving myself some grace to, give my body some rest so I can just function and be present for people and for myself. I think that's the mistake that people make, is that they're not present for themselves before others. Anyways, that's another whole show. But then I'm getting ready for the podcast and I'm like, where's my computer? And all of a sudden the doorbell rings. Well, we live out in the country. We don't normally have visitors. And here comes a man from our church. Tim at church on Sunday, Tim said, my husband said to this gentleman at church, one of our friends, he said, oh, you can come mow the grass if you want to, because Chuck is a service. His heart is in service. And so he shows up this morning with a friend saying, I'm here to cut your lawn. Your lawn service is here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 30 minutes to the show. I need to go down, get my computer out of the shop. And I need to do a couple other things. Oh, by the way, I need to eat because I haven't eaten yet this morning. So it's just been one unexpected thing after another this morning. And it's just, but I'm grateful because now they're weed eating my garden, which I have not gotten to do. And that's very important to me. But with everything else going on, I haven't had a chance to do it. So blessings in disguise, right? So this is God's way of saying, okay, you know, you want to plant your tomatoes, here's your chance.
Yeah. Well, that's why
So
I love, not just expecting the unexpected, but like as we've termed this show, welcoming the unexpected. And I think what people tend to forget is that actually leaves a whole opening for any possibility. So much in life, when I talk to clients, when I talk to groups, when I talk to people, is they run up against expectations. And
mhm,
expectations come from when you have something so planned out and think the way something is going to go. And that's what I love about the welcoming the unexpected is it leaves room for anything to show up. The gardener's at not the most appropriate time or whatever the case may be. But oftentimes, if you really embrace just what's happening in the moment in life versus laying out what the uh, protocols for something are going to be or what the way something is going to go, if it doesn't go exactly that, it doesn't feel like it's right. And that's often not the case at all. What's right is just how things wash up, which is why I just love the name of this show, What Washes Up in Life.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think you touched on something that, and sorry, I had a thought while you were talking because it jogged my memory on something. But I think what people don't understand is there's a reason for everything, and I think you just touched on that. And it's really important to know that and to realize that in the moment, right? And the other thing is that I can't remember what I was going to say.
Well, that's okay because it's unexpected, so you can just. But I think probably what you're lending itself to is that if we don't have expectations, if we don't have everything so locked down to exactly how it should be, if something doesn't go exactly to that plan, as I was mentioning, it doesn't feel right, where it could be the most right thing possible. And so the unexpected actually is what we welcome in. And there's this conditioning, I think, that has taken place for people over time that we have to lay it out. We have to have a plan. We have to know what to expect. And the expectation oftentimes leads to disappointment only because it hasn't gone exactly that way when perhaps it wasn't meant to go that way to begin with.
Right. And in a lot of leadership forums, you hear about expectation management, but oftentimes that is geared towards your clients or your customers, and your employees, but um, it's not focused on yourself and your life. So you need to take that out of your leadership and management training and apply it to your life, right? Expectation management means that you manage or you help me out, not manage,
Well,
but I need
yeah,
my thesaurus.
yeah. Well, it's interesting because you bring up a great thing. People do put, as you're mentioning, management and leadership together, and they're really two
Right.
different things altogether.
Absolutely.
And management generally focuses in on the to-dos, what there is to do, how are the performance metrics, all of those types of things, and that they're managed against, again, a set procedure or a set metrics of how it's done. Versus leadership generally is more about the processing. And so I always equate management to the doing, leadership to the being. And anyone that knows me is always hearing me say, we're human beings, not human doings. And so when we can get away from the doings, it allows us a freedom. And really, the unexpected is and can be looked as a gift and a freedom, because there's often many different ways to get to the same solution with whatever it is in life, whether it's in your personal life or your families or your businesses. And so leadership really usually focuses in on the vision of where you want to go, and then the number of different paths that you can take to get there, not necessarily just along with one metrics.
Right. Absolutely. So I think this goes back to what we were talking about last week about pivoting, right? So when you come upon something unexpected, how do you pivot back into, coming back into, okay, this is what I have to do now. It's not what I planned, but how do you do that? How do you do first, I guess, expectation management for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then how do you pivot if something unexpected comes up? Because I know you've had a few things over the past couple months that you had to pivot and go a different direction than what you thought. So what's your mentality like when you, so I want to go over how you pivot, and then I'll go over how I pivot so people see the difference, that no two people are alike when they pivot.
I think that's a beautiful way to think about it, because yes, everyone does react in a different way. For me, whether it's something personal in life, business in life, or otherwise, it always goes back to the same 5 steps I've always refer back to, which is really the stages of creating something new. And so when you think about a pivot, you think about a design of something, you think about the innovation of something, you think about the creation of something, and how to get there always starts with that first stage, which is the thought about whatever it is you're going to do. And even if something isn't going the direction that you want it to go, or you're blindsided by something, or something new enters the scene, a new challenge, a new, whatever the case may be, obstacle or hurdle, you go back to the very first stage, which is the thought about where it is you want to go. So that is always the starting point, because those thoughts, they actually determine everything. They determine the actions that you're going to take analogous to, or in alignment with, or in correlation with, whichever way you want to think about it, what that thought is. And using the personal example you're talking about, I had a goal this spring to expand the Reinvented Life show from a show to a network where we bring other stories, other businesses, other people forward within that network. And on the very last day of January, right in the midst of thinking about, okay, finally buckling down and doing that, I broke my foot. And that then was talk about pivoting. I now can barely walk. I can't drive. I can't move. My whole way of being had to pivot. But what didn't change is that I wanted to get this network going. And so the actions that I took were correlative to that. they say it's 21 days plus or minus, right? So within 21 days of doing something, taking that action and doing something in a certain way, or more importantly, being towards that action, then creates a habit. And I always say, if in 21 days your habit isn't built, put it in for another 21 days, right? But you build a habit, which is the second stage to anything you're doing in life. Those habits, as you form your habits, whether they're new or otherwise, create routines, right? Routines are just collection of habits. And ultimately, you're creating a lifestyle, which is a collection of routines, which is the fourth stage. The fifth stage is ultimately where that map is, where that direction is, where it is you want to end up being on that particular topic. So no matter what it is, it can fit into that formula. You know, I established that formula almost a decade ago in reference to reclaiming my health, which is a very, different topic, but people have used it in business, people have used it in life, and that's how I do it. I always go back to where is the thought about what it is that I want to be happening, and then everything just goes back to that. If it deviates and it falls off course, I go back to that initial thought. And that's how I do it.
It's almost exactly like how I do it, but I will put it a different way. So when something pops up, just like this morning, something unexpected, and, we're talking unexpected, like breaking a foot, like the lawn service shows up, right? In the middle of you doing something, and you have to pivot. You can't just break down and say, well, at least we don't, right? We don't break down and shut down. We move forward and saying, okay, so I am analytical and a process person. In my brain, that's how my brain works, right? And so I analyze just about everything. So the first thing that happens with me is, you're in shock and you got to sit down for a second and go, okay, what just happened? What is happening right now? So when, for example, the doorbell rang, you're in shock to a certain extent. And then I went into, okay, what is happening right now? Okay, deal with this right now, because this has to be dealt with right now. And then when I get whatever needs to be done with that, then I step back and I say, okay, what else do I need to do? What is my goal? Mm-hmm. What else do I need to do? And how do I get there?
Yeah.
So it's all a process for me, right? And so you take that prioritization of what you need to do, what needs to be done in the immediate future. Mm-hmm. And then you prioritize from there. And then you go on with the rest of your day.
Yeah.
Until the next unexpected thing happens.
Yeah, and the key is that you take a look at whatever actions are happening and keep asking yourself, are there correlative, or are they in alignment with, are they getting you in the direction that you actually want to be going? And that's the key to it, because we can all, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this and a lot of people viewing this, think about, the unexpected, all that means is a big danger sign for being off course, right? Or being distracted or not getting done what you initially set out to do. And so that's the key, is if it all is ultimately in alignment with where you want to go, it may look a little different, which is the whole nature of it being unexpected, but nonetheless, it's achieving what you want it to achieve. And it may just get there looking a little bit different. And that is the key, is that when people are fluid and they stay in a place of not necessarily being, so that term everyone's heard of, set in stone, right? But being more like the water that's flowing around those stones and those rocks. If you think about, a little creek or a body of water or a massive ocean, the water itself is very fluid. And so people necessarily feel, oh, I'm distracted, or I'm not getting done what I wanted to get done, or, they tend to not feel as positive about things all the time, when the reality is who's to say that that's actually not what was intended to happen anyway, because it's usually beyond us.
Right, absolutely. But if I can take that metaphor a little bit farther about the river with the rocks, right? So the rocks are always changing because the river's forming them. If you want to really think about it on a deeper level, the rocks are coming apart, just like seashells, right? Seashells end up being the sand on the beach. So there's a purpose for everything happening.
Exactly.
And the sand, everybody goes to the beach for the sand and the water and the sun. It doesn't matter what form it's in, you will always have that purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Just how you get there might be a little bit longer than what you expected, or a little bit different, like we've been talking about. So expectation management. So what I got out of this conversation, and I do that as well when I talk to my friends, what do I get? What was the message for me, and what did I get out of it to help me grow? And from this conversation, I got expectation management, and I'm trying to be a little bit more fluid in that respect, because as I get older, I am not as fluid as I used to be. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm just not. And so I'm trying to get back to that. But expectation management, I think, is my biggest hurdle on that, in that respect, because I think we get in the mindset of, okay, we do this, and this is going to happen. Right? Yeah. Like you were saying earlier, it doesn't happen like that. Not all the time.
Well, I think when you mentioned something important that people can really take from this is, as people get older in general, there is that tendency not to feel as fluid. And the reason that that is the case is, generally, if it's fluid, or you want to use the term free forming or flowing, they're generally, for a lot of people, that's a state of not feeling safe, not feeling within the confines or the boundaries of where they are. And I'd really encourage people to actually shift that around, because safety actually comes in the freedom of it all, not necessarily living into the box and the confines that the conditioning has had us all in. So that is the reason for a lot of people that they lose that spontaneity, right? They lose that ability to be as free flowing, because for a lot of people that's outside of the safety zone. So when you said earlier, how do I do it? It starts with always a thought, and maybe the thought for someone is, I want to start equating the flowingness of things, the free flowing, the not having to have such defined boundaries, as safety. And so it can start equating your thoughts to what doesn't feel safe, to how things can feel safe for people. Because people,
right,
ultimately, it's human nature, want to go back, as I was saying earlier, to this beingness, or this place of being and feeling the safety. So if you start to shift that around, that's how people become more fluid again. they become more spontaneous again. They become easier to navigate through things because they find that they don't have to be as set in the way that something's done.
Every time I talk to you, I learn something new.
Wow.
But I guess that's what friendship is all about, right? Learning from each other.
Is, always learning from people around you is awesome. And that's why I love this show. Is just, you just never know what's going to wash up in life. And I think that's the key for people is how do they reframe, rethink, the whole theme of this entire show and network and book and everything I do is how do you reinvent? How do you reinvent that thought on a dime? Because invention, the core of that word I always say is inventing, and inventing is creating or, in a place of manifesting something new. And so that's what
Absolutely.
I love about the reinvention is that new could be what used to be again and just bringing it back in, what fell off the turnip truck, so to speak, we could bring it back in.
Right. Well, and that's a whole.
That's an excitement level to me of when we can,
yes,
convert anything in life, figure out why something may be keeping us stuck, and then moving the thought to start with a fresh start.
Absolutely. And every day is a fresh start. Well, and you bring up a good point about feeling safe, and my mind went to thinking about the veterans that come home with PTSD and things like that. So, but that's another show. But I think so. Leading into we have our friends at AMP2 Media have done a special Veterans Day, or sorry, not Veterans Day. That's
it honors veterans. Yeah.
Yes, it honors the veterans.
Day being Memorial Day, it really honors the veterans. And I know we are out of time here, but we should explore this fluidity more. And I can't wait for people to hear and listen to what they've put together, because it really is exactly what you say. There's so many reinventions that need to take place for the veterans. So it's a nice honor.
Absolutely. So for Military Awareness Month or Veterans Awareness Month, whatever month it is, we honor the veterans and the military members. And they have put together a special little small video for you guys to watch. So we'll be playing that all this month at the end of the show. So thank you to the veterans and the military members. Thank you for all that you do. And we hope to see you guys next week on the Beach Jam podcast.
In the calm of early morning, when the day begins anew, we pause to reflect. May holds a special significance beyond just being another month. It is time for solemn remembrance, gratitude, and honoring those who've made tremendous sacrifice for our freedom. To all who served in the military, across all branches, and the National Guard, to the veterans, and to the families who support them through thick and thin, we express our heartfelt thanks. Your courage, sacrifice, and unwavering dedication inspired us deeply. As we commemorate Military Appreciation Month, we recognize the importance of standing by our newest recruits. Those brave individuals venturing into an unknown, responding to duties called with determination, deserve our utmost respect and guidance. Equally important is our commitment to support those actively serving in the Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Marines, and National Guard. Whether deployed abroad or stationed at home, they carry out their duties with honor and integrity. It is our responsibility to ensure they have the resources, care, and unwavering support necessary to fulfill their missions. So, as we observe Military Appreciation Month, let's unite in gratitude and solidarity. Let's honor the past, support the present, and inspire the future. To all who serve, have served, and those who stand beside them, we extend our deepest appreciation. Happy Military Appreciation Month.
Thank you for tuning in to Beach Jam Media with your host, Jennifer Corbin-Carson. We hope today's dive into hot topics and valuable resources left you feeling refreshed and inspired. Our mission is to keep you informed and engaged as we ride the waves of what washes up in life together. Until next time, stay curious, keep the conversation flowing, ask questions, and let the glisten of the shoreline guide your journey. Goodbye.